Hi, and welcome to another episode of I See Data People. And here with us is Sarah McKenna, CEO of Sequentum. Hey, Sarah.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here. I'll just start with a quick intro. For the last 6 years, you've been leading the world of data collection and pipelines for smarter data driven decisions. And actually, before starting Sequentum, Sarah was a QA professional for the last 20 years of her career. So I'll turn it over to Evan to ask the first question.
Sarah, given that got this extensive background in product development and QA, I'd love to know how that influenced your choice of how you built your own product when entering the world of web data extraction.
Oh, that's a great question, Evan, and it really does explain a lot about Sequentum and where we are today. So in quality assurance, it's a kind of an unknown field. It's the thankless, behind the scenes work that major product teams need to do. But basically, it's very large scale automation. So automation of functional testing, automation of performance testing, automation of security testing. And it's the whole picture of soup to nuts. What are your requirements and how are you delivering them, right? From beginning to end. And so when you move into the data world, it's really technically, it's two sides of the same coin. It's automation. It's all about quality. And again, it's all about it driving down to the basic requirements. So what we did in quality assurance over the first 20 years of my career was we defined the agile methodologies and how to actually deliver software with quality. So you have acceptance criteria and you have all those agile methodologies. And then you have this large scale automation of these very complex operations and technologies. So when you bring that into the data world, right, Sequentum was heads down delivering. But once we got to a place where we were more comfortable and we were profitable and we looked up from our work and looked out into the data industry, and we were sort of tickled pink to find people talking about data contracts. We have data contracts in the Sequentum platform. How could you possibly deliver quality data without a data contract, right? Our agents are essentially text files that define, where the data comes from, any workflow steps, if you're doing any AI enrichment or any workflow, control flow, any transformations along the way, right? The schema's in there. All your data validation rules, whether it's, data validation at the level of the field or at the level of the entire run, or schema validation, right? All of that's in there. If you're, so basically your SLAs are included. And we were also delighted to learn of terms like data composability, right? I mean, we're automation nerds. We are obsessed with automation accuracy and efficiency. So the way that we architected our platform is to have small atomic units of automation that you can layer, just like building blocks of automation, right? In QA, we always talked about building blocks of automation. You make a change in one place and everything changes to work the way that it needs to work. So you're very nimble in introducing changes to these large scale automated operations, right? That's what data composability is. It's basically taking all of these building blocks and putting them together. Data observability, another term. When I learned about data observability, we, as a team, we practically guffawed. We're like, what is it? Observability, what a weird name. It's basically data quality, right? We're obsessed with quality every step of the way. You have to define up front in your requirements what it has to be and what are all of those checks and controls you're going to put in place to make sure that data from that third-party source, whether it's a website or an API or, a document, whatever it is you're pulling data from. We're not limited to web data, but that happens to be one of our strong points. You need to have that monitoring every step of the way. The fact that we have our start in web data, that's like the Netflix chaos monkey of data pipelines, right? So we had that, multi-structured, constantly changing, complex, technically, challenge, and we built all those controls in our platform. So the fact that we come from quality assurance really is more of a testament to our obsession with quality and our obsession to building the right automation framework to detect and eliminate errors as they come up. And also to make sure the right people are notified in the right time frames so that, corrections and changes can be made, and then making those changes as transparent as possible, because you're going to need changes, right, to keep the data accurate, especially if you're pulling from web sources, right? You need to have audit trails and governance every step of the way. Yeah, I mean, it's quality assurance has everything to do with the way that we've approached data automation at Sequentum, and I think it's made all the difference.
Amazing. And I think, QA and automation is actually the process of creating processes and frameworks that resonate with your clientele, customers. And how do you optimize this to actually create a product that resonates with your customers?
Yeah, I mean, it's the way that you eliminate risk, whether it's product development or quality assurance or data automation. It's pretty much the same. It's people, process, and tools. And when I get up on stage and talk about compliance in the web data field, it's the same thing. It's all people, process, and tools. And basically, every problem that you have, whether it's a problem in one of your product releases, or if it's a problem that you had with one of the data streams that you stood up for one of your customers, every problem boils down to, an opportunity to improve. And so the trick is, and I've actually done this in every startup that I've done over the last 25 years, you basically keep track of every one of those issues, and then you define, is this people, process, or tools, and decide, what your remediation is to eliminate that risk going forward. So maybe it's a feature, right? Maybe it's you need to hire someone with a new skill set that you didn't realize you needed, or more of a focus in a particular skilled area. Or maybe it's just methodology. There needs to be certain checks and balances before a particular change can be released. And that's how we do it. We iteratively improve all the time. It's very similar to the Japanese sort of lean manufacturing principles. It works for startups. It works in data.
So you mentioned people, process, and tools. I wanted to dig a little deeper on tools in particular. So aside from GPT, what are the most powerful data tools you've seen recently?
I mean, my perspective is pretty biased. The thing that I love about my work is we get, all kinds of challenges from all over the place. We're able to stand up, entire operations from scratch in a very short time period because of our platform. And I tend to think that our platform is incredibly powerful, but the truth is I'm not really using anybody else's. So I'm not sure how to answer this question without just coming across as completely biased for the Sequentum platform.
Oh, I think that's great. And let's dive deeper into this. What's the most powerful insight you've seen from your platform lately?
The thing that really brings us joy. So we're either licensing our software, in which case we don't see the data that our customers are working with, or we're operating our software, in which case we see every single field of every row of data that they're working with. And the beautiful thing that we see, and that really, really gets us excited, is when a company comes to us, like a large brand, for example, and they're in a world of pain because they tried to stand up data-driven decision-making. They read the McKinsey report that said they were going to be able to increase their revenues by 40% year over year by implementing data-driven decision-making. And they tried it, and they tried to work with all of these companies in the modern data stack, and they tried to implement all this stuff. And somehow through the grapevine, right, they were failing, trying and failing. Somewhere through the grapevine, someone said, you should really try Sequentum. They can really help you. And then they call us up and they say, can you give us the sun, moon, and the stars yesterday? And we do. We set up 70, 80, 100, live data streams, and we start feeding them into them. And we start this continuous improvement process, right? Because there's little edge cases and different things that come along, and we're just responding, improving. And 3 months later, someone super senior, comes to us and says, and this actually happened, said, I want you to know that we saved tens of millions of dollars based on this data in our negotiations with our retailers. And that's like, it's just sends shockwaves through the company, because we're sort of at this little microscopic, super detailed level. But to see it all come together like that is really, really exciting. And that kind of insight is what really gets us jazzed. And similarly, even little tiny projects where someone comes to us and says, I really just need an alert on any negative sentiment that has to do with the buildings that my firm is insuring, or insert whatever the actual content is here, and we can stand that up overnight. That's like one agent. To be able to pull all that together and provide that in such short order and immediately embark on that continuous improvement, continuous refinement process is really exciting.
I
So it's
love
kind
to
of
hear
like
this.
never-ending insights. There's just no end to the insights that you can get when you combine data and AI.
So as we look to the future, maybe it's surveillance, maybe it's something else. Where do you see the data world going in the next 5 years? What do you expect the biggest change to be in the data world in the next 5 years?
Well, I do think that we're going to have kind of autonomous bots that are going to go and gather information for us. So, for many, many years, we were going to Google and running all of our searches, right? And now I think that's changing very quickly. And we're learning how much we're able to glean from this, sort of autonomous AI agents. But I think the trick is going to be, how do you build trust? And again, how do you distinguish between misinformation or disinformation and actual, actionable data? And that's going to be the trick. I think you're going to have to, companies like us, I think, are well positioned to take advantage of this because, our system goes to great pains, being designed by total QA nerds who don't trust anything. You have to really know the origin of all your data and all the different permutations that it's gone through, right? You need to understand those changes over time, what changes happen when and why, right? Because that's what's going to be informing the training of all of these autonomous agents that are going to be informing our own decision making. In this world where, again, like our news is not really a viable, at the moment, nobody's really figured out a viable business model for news other than like subscription, and nobody really wants to pay for news. So, this is going to be the trick, is figuring out how to drive trust in these kind of autonomous agents that are going out and gathering the data that you're making decisions based off of.
We're gonna have to learn to live side by side, I guess. Sarah, thank you so much for your time and insights. It was great to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure.